All right, so firstly, in your head now, can you think of what the 4 types of guidance are? And then see if you can sort of come up with those. So firstly, we have visual guidance, okay, which is when you see something, could be through like a demonstration or a video. Then we have verbal guidance, which is when someone is telling you what to do. Then we have manual guidance, which is when you physically move somebody. Then finally, we have mechanical guidance, which is the use of training aids or objects to help somebody learn something. So let's go through these quickly. Visual guidance then. Definition of visual guidance is simply when the performer can see something, okay? Examples of this are a demonstration. So teachers, coaches, other players do demonstrations all the time, okay? Demonstrations are very good. Obviously, the issue with these are they have to be good demonstrations. If you got somebody to demonstrate something who didn't know how to perform the skill or couldn't perform it correctly, then it wouldn't obviously be good to do. The second one you could have is footage of performers. So that can be, we've talked about this a lot, how like elite athletes watch videos of other teams and analyze them and analyze how they're going to defend or attack against certain teams or what shots to play against them. It can also just be simply through you watching someone who plays in a similar position to you. Say you're a goalkeeper and you want to watch how other goalkeepers do it. You just might watch footage of them. It could be photographs and posters as well. That's an example they give. Obviously, it's less likely nowadays to be used. Then, what you then need to know are what the advantages and disadvantages of these types of guidance are. Now, often it will be referred to beginner and elite athletes. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to think about. Is visual guidance good for beginner athletes? Is it good for elite athletes? And so on. So, firstly, visual guidance is good for all levels of performers. Okay, it can be good for beginners, it can be good for elite, it can be good for intermediate in between. Okay, if you see something to help you improve, that will make you a better performer. It is, however, very good for beginners. Okay, beginners need to see what they've got to do. If you've never seen a forward roll before and someone asks you to do one and you've no idea what it is, there is no way you can perform it. If I said to you all, I want you to perform a backhand smash in badminton and you'd never played badminton before, you wouldn't have a chance of playing it. You'd have to see what I want you to do. Now, this is another part of it, which is important, is you can observe a specific part of the skill. So you could look at, let's say you're looking at the footwork, stick with badminton, the footwork of a backhand smash. So what have you got to do with your feet? Your right foot has to go deeper and so on. So you've got to talk about specific parts of the skill if you're looking at visual guidance. Then disadvantages of it. As I mentioned earlier, it has to be a good quality demonstration. If it's a bad quality demonstration, it's no good whatsoever. And some skills are too complex to demonstrate. So if I was talking about patterns of play in football and you were teaching it to Man City, for instance, Pep Guardiola wouldn't have been able to show a demonstration of what he wanted. He would have actually had to kind of walk them all through it. Okay, he wouldn't just be able to go, this is exactly what I want to see. Off you go. It would have taken time. It would be too complex initially to do a demonstration for. So that's visual guidance. Okay. If you want to take notes on it, pause it now. Take notes in your books or on paper or however you've been taking notes at home, and then we'll move on to the next one. Another thing, performers must be fully engaged. So if I'm giving you a demonstration or so on, and you're not watching or you're not listening or you're not paying attention, then that'll obviously be an issue. Next one, verbal guidance is provided by another person speaking to you. Okay, so that's the definition of it. Examples could be it's often a coach or a teacher. It could be a parent, okay, telling you certain things. So, for instance, in the classroom, it'd be, right, we're answering a question, let's use a green pen. We're marking a question, let's use a red pen. Okay, that's verbal guidance. That's me telling you something specific to do. It might be me telling you to do a warm-up. Then, advantages of verbal guidance. Brilliant for elite athletes, okay? They understand what you're talking about when you say things to them. So it's obviously really good to use because it can be quick, it can be concise. It can be adapted to share basic information. So what that means is if you're giving it to primary school students, you can basically make something really simple. So let's say a primary school student goes to do a forward roll and they don't put their left hand down as they go to do it, they only put their right hand down. Your basic instruction could be, make sure you put your left hand down as well, and then they'll understand that, okay? But that's a really specific thing which can make it obviously very easy for them. Also, under verbal guidance comes questioning, okay? If you question someone, that is verbal guidance, and by questioning, that makes them think about it. Disadvantages are, it can result in information overload. That basically means if I give you too many instructions, you're going to be like, I've forgotten what you first said, so can you just make it a bit more simple for me? That becomes an issue for beginners, okay? You've got to make sure if you're giving verbal guidance to beginners, it's really concise. It can be boring, okay? Going over it so many times can be very boring for verbal guidance. And complex things are often too difficult to explain verbally. That means that if I'm trying to, let's say I'm trying to tell you how to do a double back somersault, really difficult just to tell you how to do it and then expect you to go do it. I've got to give you definitely some visual guidance. I've probably got to give you some manual and mechanical guidance to help you get over the line. Again, if you want to take notes, pause it now, okay, and then take your notes and then we'll move on. Manual guidance. It's when you physically move the performer. Examples could be if you literally hold somebody as they're playing a tennis shot to show them where their arm should go. It can be to do with vaulting or swimming. If you use armbands, if you get in the pool with them and you literally hold them up whilst they kick their legs. Anything along where the coach or teacher is physically supporting them. Okay, I know I've mentioned in class about in gymnastics when we teach handsprings, sorry. And then you'd like to support their back as they come over to make sure they don't fall back onto the box. Advantages of this are it's brilliant for complete beginners, okay? It gets them to understand the feel for the movements, okay? So it's brilliant for beginners and they can get a feel for the movements. Disadvantages, however, are it can feel very different when someone else is moving your body. So if you're an elite athlete and then someone comes over, like if you try and hold Cristiano Ronaldo's leg as he's about to take a free kick, he's like, what the hell are you doing? So you don't want to use it too much for elite athletes. Another disadvantage is they might not think they're actually performing the skill. So it can actually result in a sort of decrease in confidence because they're not sure whether they're performing the skill or not because someone else is helping them do it. Okay, so there are your advantages and disadvantages for manual guidance. Then finally, we have mechanical guidance. So mechanical guidance is the use of training aids to assist the performer. Examples, armbands in swimming, trampoline harness, okay? They're the two ones which we've talked about a lot. Could be, obviously you can't use this as an example, but just in your heads, you could have stabilizers on a bike, okay? Advantages of this are it is good for dangerous activities, okay? So both of those activities, swimming and trampolining, can be very dangerous. If somebody obviously can't swim, they're going to drown, and obviously that's dangerous. And then trampoline harness. Obviously, if people try and do a somersault, they come down on the neck, that could result in serious injury. So it is good for potentially dangerous skills. It can allow a performer to gain a feel for a movement without the fear. Okay, sometimes there is a big fear element, especially with, like let's say with trampolining and so on. People are worried about coming down on their neck. Same with vaulting in gymnastics. Okay, people are always worried about, oh, what will that hurt? So when we put out the crash mats, that helps you develop your confidence. This is especially good for beginners, okay? Really good for beginners to build their confidence and feel safe. Disadvantages, however, is the equipment can be expensive, okay? It's not easy to get a harness because that's got to be harnessed to the ceiling. It's obviously got to be bolted in to make sure it's really safe. And they can become too reliant on it. You've obviously probably seen it with yourselves or with little brothers and sisters, how they get their stabilizers on a bike and then they never want to take them off again. Okay, same with the armbands in swimming. They never want to take them off. They're worried about what's going to happen when they take them off. Okay, so they can become very reliant on it. Right, they're your notes. Okay, if you obviously need to go back, you can pause it now and you can take notes on that one.